Hey folks, this is Gray here, and today we're going to be looking at the wound care bucket by Refuge Medical. And I think everyone out there in the emergency preparedness community should have something like this on hand. Alright, so basically in this video what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open this bucket up and see what you get in regards to the wound care bucket. We're also going to discuss why is it important for wound care. Specifically, we're going to be talking about aftercare, because a lot of folks may have, let's say an individual first aid kit or an IFAC or a blowout kit and so on and so forth, but you have to always think about what comes after that. Then we have to look out why wound care is such an important aspect to emergency preparedness. Now, this can pertain to something in the civilian world or in a true SHTF scenario. Let's say you have something sort of an accident or whatnot, and you go to the hospital and you get patched up or whatnot, and you have a wound in your arm, leg, or wherever it may be, and then you have to take care of that wound. Some folks may have the access to go to a hospital all the time, but what about if you don't? This is where something like this can come into play. Wound care, or as I like to call it, aftercare, is very, very, very important. And the reason that this is because it helps prevent infection, it helps reduce scarring, and it helps promote healing of that wound. Infections is a very big issue. It can slow down healing as well as lead to complications and even death. What we're going to do is going to take this thing to the back bench, we'll open it up and kind of go through all the contents of the bucket itself. And honestly, I feel that this is very, very affordable from looking at and trying to do a price comparison myself via Amazon, kind of like adding what I can see off the list and try to build out my own bucket. And it's actually probably about $60 to $80 cheaper depending on how you look at it, because medical supplies have gone up in cost. So that being said, the basic wound care bucket has a specific amount of contents in it, and then you can also add on add-ons. I did add a few add-ons myself, but we'll go over this when we open the bucket. But there's things like I said, the burn shield dressings that you can add on there. You can add trauma shears. You can add a bucket opener. You can add the Survivalist Family Handbook, as well as a 76-piece advanced surgical kit, which I thought was very cool. Enough of me rambling on. Let's go back to the back bench and take a look at what you get in the wound care bucket by Refuge Medical. All right, folks. So when you first get your bucket, it'll have kind of like this packing list on the outside here of the top of the bucket so that you know what's inside here. And kind of like how I spoke about some of the add-ons that you can have in there to let you know what's inside here, be it the suture kit. I did not mention the military surgical kit. All right, folks, so I figured the best way to do this, instead of trying to lay too much stuff and kind of, just fill the screen full of different products, I'll just kind of go through a couple of products at a time that's inside the bucket. And as you saw, it was pretty packed with a lot of different things in there, packed full to the brim with lots of medical supplies. All right, so let's kind of take a look at these here first. So what you're going to do is you're going to get roughly these 8x10 gauze pads. There's 16 in this pack. And I'll have to say, this, whatever this is, these bags are very, very durable. I like that fact. Now, because I was honestly thinking about, in a way to preserve space, as I was thinking about vacuum sealing these things and compressing them. But I got to do a little bit more research to see if that would affect the gauze pads themselves. Anyways, moving on from that, let's see what we got here. We got some 5x9 gauze pads. There's 50 of those in that pack. And let's go ahead and grab a couple more things. All right, so moving on to these guys here. Looks like we got some 4x4s. And there's 100 of those inside this bag here. Now what do we got here? It looks like we got some 3x3s, and there's 80 of those inside this packet as well. Those are those two. All right, let's see what we got here. So then we got some gauze sponges, some 2x2s. There's 100 of those in this pack right here. We got some rolled gauze. These are 4x8x8 yards. You can't beat that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those in there. Do I get that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the rolled gauze in there. All right, and then we got some 2-inch rolled gauze in there, and we got a total of 12 of those inside that pack. All right, so then moving on to this pack here, looks like you got some, looks like 1-inch medical tape. You got 4 of those in there. Looks like you got some triple antibiotic cream or ointment on there. You got two bottles of that. And then to kind of go with that, you got a ton of adhesive bandages, aka Band-Aids, in a variety pack of a lot of different sizes in here. Maybe you can kind of see that in there. There's lots of different types of Band-Aids in here. It looks like, yeah, variety pack from all different sizes in there. Packed nice and tight. Kind of gives you a lot of different options when you have these variety packs. And there's 200 of them in there. All right, moving on to some of the liquids that also come in there. You got some hydrogen peroxide. You got a bottle of that in there. You got some isopropyl alcohol in there as well. And then you got some Ready Scrub, some povidone iodine solution. Basically, it's just, if you've probably seen, a lot of folks know what iodine. I feel like I don't need to go into great detail of that, but you get 2 bottles of there because I was just about to go onto a ramble, but I figured folks know what iodine is and how it's used. I would hope so. But again, hydrogen peroxide, isopropyl alcohol, and iodine. The trifecta, as I like to call it. And then to wrap up the basic kit, you have 100 of these nitrile gloves because you want to make sure that you're protecting not only your patient, but yourself. If there's bloods, pus, goos, and all that kind of nasty stuff as you're treating your patient, these will come in handy. You know, ironically enough, I was remembering a video a while back I was watching, and I remember someone talking about during the, whatever you want to call it, the 2020 to 2021 situation, the health crisis, or whatever you call it, stuff like this was extremely hard to find, as well as medical supplies. I think having stuff like this on hand is truly important. But anyways, that's for another video, I guess. But again, there's 100 of these in here, these nitrile gloves in here, and that's going to finalize the basic wound care bucket. Now I'll show you some of the add-ons that I happen to add in to the wound care bucket that you can do this as you're doing the checkout. You can kind of click on some of the add-ons that you might want to add that might work best for you and your family or others in your community. All right, so let's start with the simplest add-on product that I got here, which is a bucket opener, because when these buckets are sealed tight, I have the lid right here. As you can see, there's this rubber seal in there, and once you apply this lid down onto that bucket, it's going to be very, very, very tight, and trying to pry it off with your hands can be sometimes complicated depending on who you are. Hence why I figured I'd get the added bucket opener and kind of attach it to the side of this bucket, like right here with maybe some paracord, just so it's always with the bucket itself, because I do have a lot of these things floating around, but I want to make sure that I have one that's catered specifically towards this bucket. All right, moving on is a pair of trauma shears, or paramedic shears. There's lots of different terms for it, but these are the Refuge shears. And you need this because you're going to might be cutting tape, you might be cutting gauze, you might be kind of cutting through clothing and stuff like that. And you want to make sure you have a high quality pair of shears. These are very solid. They're not very bendable. There's some cheap ones on Amazon that if you buy it, you might get one use out of it, or maybe none, just because you're so horribly made. I also like this that has the oxygen tank nozzle there, just in case you're dealing with a patient that has to have oxygen. If you know what oxygen tanks are, the ones that you kind of see people with, but it's a square nozzle and you kind of use this to turn that with. But other than that, I think these are pretty solid. And the reason I picked these up is because there's never enough of these. You might have them in your IFAC, your blowout kits, your other medical kits, but why not have one in the bucket so that you have readily accessible tools that you're going to need while having or using the things that are inside the bucket itself. All right, last but not least is this burn shield. This comes in a 10-pack. And I think a lot of people, you know, skip out on stuff like this and don't realize how important this stuff is, folks. Having a burn dressing readily accessible is truly, truly, truly important. I don't know how many people, if you're out at camping, be it a campfire, be it in your home and you're cooking at a stove, no matter what you're doing, there's always possibilities of getting burnt by something, be it intentional or non-intentional, as in the aspect of, like, you know, you just happen to see something or someone's trying to burn you or whatever the case may be, but mostly accidental burns. Burns need to be addressed in a whole different manner, and having this stuff readily accessible is truly, truly important, at least from my perspective and my experience. And a lot of people just kind of overlook stuff like this until it happens to them. So if this is one suggestion I could make to folks out there, if you're going to do an add-on, definitely pick up some of this burn shield. Outside of, let's say, the other couple of things they have is, let's say they have the suture kit. Suturing is not as hard as some people think it is. You know, if you know how to sew, kind of thing like that. There's that old saying, or old adage as they like to call it. But that being said, someone in your family may know how to suture. You know, I myself have done it many, many times in the fields that I've been in. But also think about this. You can pick up one of the fake skin things I've showed on my channel before and practice suturing. You know what I mean? They're not that very expensive, or they're not that expensive per se. And why not practice and just know what's inside here and have that detailed information readily accessible to you, because you might need that suture kit. When it comes to the surgical kit that you can add on there, maybe you don't know how to use it, but maybe your neighbor's a doctor, or maybe you know someone that's a surgeon, EMT, paramedic, or just has some more medical skills than you. You can have that in the bucket as well, because then that can translate to someone else applying medical help to someone that knows how to use that, that gear that's inside the bucket. But anyways, that's a wrap. That's what's inside the bucket. I'm pretty sure that we are done. I'm going to go ahead and double check to make sure that the bucket is empty, and that we are. And hey, you could always use this bucket for something else if you happen to go through all that stuff. And the main reason behind this kit, basically, to kind of sum it up, is wound care. And wound care, like I said, is very, very, very important, folks. Don't sleep on it, I'm telling you. Because yes, a lot of us have IFAKs, blowout kits, you know, these high-end, you know, trauma kits or stop the bleed kits. But a lot of people forget about what happens after the fact, and why something like this is truly, truly something that everyone should have to kind of follow up that aftercare after if something else has happened and you need to treat that wound over a period of time. All right, folks, so that is a breakdown of what you get when you purchase the wound care bucket by Refuge Medical. I do have a discount code and affiliate partnership link down below. I also add a pinned comment for the folks that are interested in something like this. And folks, I honestly really think, you know, I'm very passionate about medical preparedness. I think it's sometimes, you know, kind of looked less after than some of the other things out there like food and water and stuff like that. But I feel that medical preparedness is actually extremely, extremely important. And for some reason, it gets pushed to the side a lot of times. Just remember, folks, that the slightest infection that you get, you know, it could be just a simple, you know, cut or something like that on your foot. It can be a laceration or whatnot. And like I said, it can get extremely out of hand if not properly taken care of. And having those tools at your disposal to take care of those situations can save someone's life. My favorite part of the bucket itself is how, you know, it's sealed. It's something that I can take with me where I need to go, depending on the situation that happens to arise. Let's say I can take it with me to a job site. I can keep it in my vehicle. There's different things that I can do with it. You know, if a situation presents itself, let's say like a couple of hurricanes that have passed through in the last couple of weeks or so. I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks at this point now. But there's a lot of people that can really, truly benefit for something like this. Not only if you have it for yourself, but for others that you care for, especially people in your community. Anyways, folks, if you have any questions, put those down in the comments. If you have any thing that you would add or subtract for something like this, I'd like to hear that as well. I always like to get my viewers' perspective on things that I show on the channel, and I hold that in a high value, at least for me personally. As always, if you enjoyed or got any helpful information out of this video, if you could hit that thumbs up, would be greatly appreciated. And if you're new here, take a chance and check out the rest of the channel and subscribe, is always greatly appreciated as well. That being said, folks, remember, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll catch you guys on the rebound. God bless all you amazing people out there. And again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video.